Ho ho ho! Merry Grotmas! Games Workshop have dropped a final data slate to close out 2025, updating points and rules for pretty much every army in the game. I'm annual Muppet Christmas Carol watcher Campbell McLaughlin, and in typical fashion, I'll be taking you through the high points of this latest balance pass, going over who are the winners, who are the losers, and who just happened to be along for the ride. We would like to thank Games Workshop for providing us with a preview copy of the balance update for review purposes. To keep up on all the latest in the wide world of Warhammer, subscribe to us here on YouTube. To read more, including in-depth faction-by-faction breakdowns, head to Goonhammer.com. Link in the description. So what's actually in here? Well, it's just faction changes this time around. Unless there are some surprise core rules, FAQs, or errata that we haven't been warned about that change simply everything, all the action that matters is in the Munitorum Field Manual, the Balance Data Slate, and the faction packs that have been coming out alongside each detachment this month. A few more dropped today, with Chaos Demons getting some solid buffs to their Lord of Change and Kairos Fateweaver, while Space Marines got an update to Assault Terminators to reflect their hot new model kit. But this video isn't about those. This is about the data slate. Now, just for context here, we want to look at the metagame before this data slate. Cast your minds back to yesterday and remember what the last quarter has looked like. It's been a healthy meta with loads of packed events and generally high enthusiasm around them. There's been a great spread of factions playing at the highest levels of 40k, and even the factions lagging behind have still been doing alright, with new strategies emerging seemingly every week. As usual, a few factions have still been at the top of the heap, each of which definitely needed to come down a peg. Adeptus Mechanicus. They gave Belisarius Call oaths, and it flipped the action from underpowered to busted. AdMech won the World Championships of Warhammer, and took a full quarter of the top 16 slots in that event. They've won plenty of other events despite having a relatively low play rate, and have been hovering in the 60% win rate in the last month. Eldari. Proving that elf bullshit lives year-round, they skated past the last data slate with way too light a touch, and have put up fantastic results for most of this period, also taking a quarter of the World Championships of Warhammer top 16, including the runner-up position. In general, the best AdMech builds tend to counter Eldari pretty hard, and those elves have also been struggling with Ultramarines. Victrix Guard hit the meta like a Greco-Roman freight train, pushing Space Marines right towards the top of the pile and very clearly being overtuned. Their surge moves, threat range, durability, and cost have made them a genuine problem over the last month or so. They've also overshadowed the Adeptus Sororitas. Sisters started off pretty decent, and their results have just gotten better and better as top players have tuned their builds, and they're now sitting alongside AdMech on the dangerous fringes of a 60% win rate. A big honorable mention also goes to the Raven Guard, whose Shadow Martellon detachment was making up a third of Codex Marine builds prior to Victrix Guard appearing, and putting up plenty of strong finishes. If it weren't for the Victrix Guard giving Ultramarines that edge, the Goth Bird Bros would probably have had that spot. Outliers at the other, losing end are less numerous, and outside of Imperial Agents, which aren't a real faction, prove me wrong, there's only 4 factions that have really stood out. Imperial Knights. While Knights have historically done pretty well, right now Imperial Knights absolutely fold if an Eldari list looks at them funny, and they don't have anything as busted as Chaos Knights' double Gatling Despoilers to help prop them up. Grey Knights have a very one-note codex that leans on Dread Knights really heavily, and as a result, also have big problems running into Eldar. Thousand Sons got hit a little too hard in the last data slate with a double tap of points and rules changes, which left their established strategies in the dust. They have, however, been climbing back up a little in the last month as people have adjusted to building around Scarab Occult Terminators and Predators. The Tau Empire were pretty solid for the first 2 months of the metagame, but have had a catastrophic collapse in the last month after taking a big points hit on stealth suits, perhaps their single most important datasheet, and as a result, they have not been able to hack it into AdMech or Marines. Everybody else though? Fine, great even. As we said, it's been a pretty good metagame, and honestly, if you'd cut things a month ago, it would have looked like a great one. The balance issues have only become truly stark in the last month, heightened by the arrival of Calgar Claws and his axe-wielding little helpers. That's where we were yesterday, so with the changes applied, what does tomorrow hold? In typical fashion, we'll cover the biggest winners and losers, but if we don't mention your faction, assume that the changes were minimal, if anything changed at all. Don't worry, we didn't forget you. We love you. Let's start with the factions who've got some goodies under the tree. I don't know if they're good kids this year or not, but they've got rich parents and that's just as good. Thousand Sons get a partial rollback of some of the points changes from last time, points drops on some strong vehicles, and some big rules buffs to the change host of Deceit. These changes leave the faction with some very powerful strategies and a good shot of snapping right back up the rankings. Imperial Knights get some points drops and a slightly easier to achieve Coach Chivalric ability in Reap a Great Tally. More importantly, Eldar, their greatest nemesis and mine, were severely defanged this go-around, letting the Imperial Knights finally breathe. Astra Militarum were sitting just outside the top bracket before this, and are left untouched points-wise, while receiving a powerful new Grotmas detachment. Check out our video on the Grizzled Company. I think we might have undersold how good it is. Adeptus Custodes supplement their boosts from last time with even more cuts to Custodian Guard, Sisters of Silence, and Alaris Terminators. Chaos Space Marines have stealthily been on the rise, and with Forge Fiends getting even cheaper, they're in a pretty good position. The new Nightmare Hunt detachment is maybe an actually decent take at the whole Battle Shock-centric detachment gimmick too. Check out our video on that one after this. It looks like it'll at least be fun to try out. While those factions got the biggest presents this holiday season, there were still some stocking stuffers among the runners-up. Leagues of Votan saw a generous scattering of minor points changes, with Steeljacks being the chief benefactors there. Harlequins are among the winners here, and not just because I wanted to show this clip from Christmas with the Joker again. Their new Serpent's Brood detachment is genuinely good, video up here, and a huge improvement over their old Ghosts of the Webway detachment. I know we said Eldari have had a rough go of it this data slate, but if you're subscribed to the Juggalo lifestyle, this is better than Red Pop Fago. Tzeentch demons are most powerful in Thousand Sons now, but Kairos and the Lord of Change get some love here too, with the damage on the ranged attacks upping to a flat 3. I know that might not sound like a huge deal, but you've never seen the life drain out of a player's eyes faster than when they roll d3s for damage and come up nothing but 1s. That's it for the winners, and now it's time to move on to the factions getting a big ol' lump of coal in their stockings. Chief among the coal havers are the Eldari, who get slammed with a double whammy of big rules and points changes that crush the best aspect host builds into dust. It might be time to put those elves back on their shelves, but you'll have to do it in the movement phase, since you can't embark with Fire and Fade anymore. Sorry. The Adeptus Mechanicus saw some big point hikes which should bring them up in line with other top-end armies. After their performance earlier this year, I think you and I can agree that they've been naughty, naughty cyborgs. The Adeptus Sororitas saw points increases on a bunch of their top units, with Hospitallers, Sanctifiers, Morvenval, and Retributors all catching some heat. The Tau have had the misfortune of falling off a cliff in the last few weeks, so they don't get the help they need. Stealth suits getting more expensive hits them hard, as they were such a useful, cheap utility unit before. Getting real specific here, Raven Guard Space Marines get hit with point increases to Devastator Centurions and Ethan Sean, and a nerf to Hunter's Instincts in their Shadowmark Talon detachment. Also in the camp of dudes wearing black power armor and having a bad day are my problematic faves in the Black Templars. They get some points hits to standouts like the Repulsor Executioner and the Emperor's Champion, reflecting their above-average performance over the last few months. You couldn't tell from my tournament records, though. The last loser is you. Yes, you specifically, person who painted 18 Victrix Guard. The good news is that there is at least a modest point increase on 6 model Victrix despite them being new, but probably only enough to stop 18 being the play. 12 to 15 is still exceptionally good, especially because the 3 model squad went down for some reason. So if you couldn't tell, it's a pretty light touch for most factions in the game. Even the winners here are generally seeing some small points adjustments, and most of this feels like corrections on units that were undercosted to begin with. I'm not going to shed any tears for Belisarius Call getting more expensive, but with the bonkers good bonuses he gave to Mechanicus, and even with the points hikes to Victrix Guard, I don't expect to spike the 4 boxes of them I have in the trash. But what do you think? Are these updates going to fundamentally change how you play, or just inform some tweaks to your lists? Sound off in the comments, and make sure to hit that subscribe button while you're at it. You can also support us on Patreon for bonus content, extra features on tabletop battles, and more, or head over to Goonhammer.com to read even more about these balance changes. I've been Kringus McCrampus, thankful that I'm not making 30 detachment focus videos this month. Grotmas 2024 was insane, and so was I. Thanks for watching.